Hi guys, it's Alyssa and welcome back to another daily video on my channel, The Divine Venus. So I had a video planned for today. Actually, I did record it and then I deleted it. I didn't edit it, thank God, but it was an accident that I deleted it and it kind of made me a little sad. So I'm going to not re-record, it's not a re-record. I'm recording a different video for today. I didn't have this one planned, so I guess it was just meant to be. This is what I was supposed to give you. So this is going to be based on a Hellenistic technique in whole sign astrology called annual perfections and finding your time lord. Now, for most people know that I am a progressive tropical astrologer that uses Placidus, but I will, for the sake of time and argument, use whole sign and show you the whole sign technique. If you feel like you are advanced enough in your own practice, you can go around with any type of chart system you want. I will not gatekeep this. I am not a gatekeeper in astrology. I'm not here to tell you how to do your astrology. I just want to tell you the technique because it's very cool. It was invented and created before the technological advancements of the telescope. So there's no Neptune, Uranus, or Pluto. Also, they would say that they don't use these because these planets move too slowly, and because this is based on your year, you want to find the planet that moves more quickly through the signs. I have my own opinion on that, and so therefore at the end of this video I will add Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto to the idea of your time lords, but you can take it or leave it. This is your practice. I am not a gatekeeper and no one should be. So because I do respect this a lot, I want to try to give you the information as clear as possible. This is very cool. When you are looking at your annual perfections or your time lord, it's basically from your birthday to your next birthday and what is going to be the most important transits, the most important houses, and the most important energy of you that year. This is based on your chart. So if you have an Aries rising, your first year of life, you will be living in a Mars-ruled life. That's your time lord. And then it would go to Taurus, which would mean Venus is your time lord, and then Gemini, which would mean Mercury is your time lord, and so on. Until you get to the age of 12, in which case you start over, and every year you go through your chart. This is a lot easier to work with on whole sign, so it doesn't matter what degree your rising is. If your rising's Pisces, your first house is Pisces, therefore traditionally would be ruled by Jupiter, progressively ruled by Neptune. Take it or leave it. Interesting, perfection actually means the state of moving forward, so that's what this is. It's an annual perfection, a yearly forward movement for you. I drew this out for you so you could see how it looks. So I'm going to talk over that as you look at it. Basically, you're going to put your own chart into this system and you're going to be able to find the year of life that you're in and relate it to your house. After you relate it to your house, you're going to pull up your chart to see what house that's in. Now, if you know your houses pretty well, especially in whole sign, this should be a lot easier. You won't have to pull up your chart. But if you do have to pull up your chart, feel free to do that. But basically, I can look up my chart right now. I have a Pisces rising, so here's my whole sign chart for you. The Pisces rising is in the first house. So my first year of life was ruled by this Jupiter or by Neptune. So that was my time lord in my first year of life. Now I am 35 years old, so I'm going to go around the little clock and get to the 12th house. So right now I'm in my annual perfection in the 12th house. 12th house perfected year. And that would mean that Aquarius, traditionally ruled by Saturn, Saturn is my time lord for this year. I'm also going to be dealing with 12th house ideas. Those both are going to mean a lot. Also, wherever Saturn is transiting in my chart is going to be a very important focus for me, okay? So if Saturn is currently in Aquarius, and my 12th house is Aquarius, then Saturn is in the sign that it is. I'm very 12th house right now. Saturn is going through that, so is Jupiter. Everything's all up in there. But naturally, my Saturn, which is my time lord, is in the 9th house in whole signs. So that means that my 9th house will also have a pulled focus. So those are the things you want to look at. The lord of the house is your time lord, where it naturally falls in your natal chart, what the transit version of that is doing, what the house is that you're in, what that's telling you, and where the houses are that your transit time lord and your natal time lord are. and what are they telling you, okay? And that's how you get it really specific. Now, if you don't want to be that specific and you're just learning, I'm going to simplify a couple things for you. What the Time Lord actually means and what that house means in your annual profection. So that, to me, I think is the easiest way to start this out, and then you could add additional aspects to it as you grow in your knowledge and understanding of this technique. I'm going to go down the list from 1st to 12th and tell you what the energy of that year is. It's just the idea of what's there. You have to look at what's afflicted to see if this is going to be a bad year or a good year. So if you are in a first house profection, you are going to be focused on your body, your image, health, your new beginnings in your life, and your life in general. What's going on with that? Now, if it's in the second, this will be finances, possessions, value in yourself, beautifying yourself, your self-image, and your own vitality. Actually, your self-image is vitality, because of the first house is a lot about self-image. It's like, well, how does that self-image affect you in how much value you think you have and what you think you deserve? So that's that year if you're in your second house. If you're in your third house profection, it will be about your siblings, short travel, running errands, learning. Learning's a big thing for the third house. So be taking on a lot of information at this time and maybe even really excited to learn about new things. Business is important here, as well as your community or your neighborhood. Like if you're a parent, it could be a big time for you on the board of parents. What are those parents called? The fourth house is about your parents, more specifically your mother, but it can be both. It's about your roots, home, and your family. There's a lot about, it could even be rearranging the furniture in your home, where that might fall more in the sixth house, but the fourth house is about that too. What is related to your home? If you're in a fourth house profection, this might be a time when something big happens in your family. Now, if it's in the fifth house, this can run into two separate types of things I've noticed. So the fifth house is both pregnancy and children, your childhood, memories of your childhood, but it can also be a sexual awakening, fun, and party time. Also creating something of value. This is your place of creation and what you can make and bring into the world. So actually, I guess that's 3 ideas. This could be a time when you get pregnant and all of a sudden all fun and partying dies. Or it could be a time where all you do is have fun and party. Or it could be a time where you're so busy creating and focusing on something that you're making and innovating that you have no time for party and no time for kids. Or it could be all 3. You could have this one year, you're just like partying and you're also creating some great things and you're burning the candle at both ends, and then all of a sudden, oops, I got pregnant. So that's your fifth house perfection. Now your sixth house is illness, pets, like small pets, your pets that you keep with you, injuries, so I guess illness and injuries, because it is a house of health, naturally ruled by Virgo, your coworkers or even your subordinates, spending a lot of time with them, your job, your work, not necessarily your career, but the work you have to do within your job, and your mundane daily activities, also moving furniture. To be honest, I don't know why I always bring up moving furniture, but like I'm like really into it, and there's a lot of times like I notice that during certain transits where it's like, oh, something big and can happen in your life, like it's really just me moving furniture. So the seventh house this is a big one for relationships, dating, marriage, and divorcing, partnerships, getting into business with people, other people, and public enemies. So this can even hold some gossip, people who are openly not into you, okay? Like openly don't like you. So then the eighth house, it's the death and taxes house. It's also sexual intimacy. So it's that deep emotional connection through sex and even balance of feelings and sharing. It's inheritance, and it can be sexual brokenness. Also, gossip can fall in here too. So like people wanting to take down your reputation can even belong in here depending on what's going on with the rest of your chart. It rules other people's money. It could also be a time when you are facing tax evasion or something like that. Depends again on what's going on in your chart. It could also be just really deeply connecting to like the biggest love of your life. Now the ninth house is foreign travel, higher education, and religion. So when we think about religion, it's like faith, like because it's naturally ruled by that Jupiter. It's having faith in something greater than you, or establishing rules of a higher consciousness and not just the authority of the land. It's about the authority of the universe. Now it's also about teaching. It can be a place where you're put into a position of being the teacher in a lot of cases, showing people what's up. If it's not you learning in a university type level, but it's only 1 year. So that's kind of the thing. So when you're looking at it as 1 year, it's not like we just go to college for 1 year. So this is going to be more of like, I am in a position of higher learning from the cosmos, or ready to share my own understanding of the cosmos. Or it could be a lot of travel too. Like you're traveling everywhere, you're just always on the move. You feel like you're wandering everywhere around the world and you don't know where you are. You don't know your roots are. Now, if you're in the 10th, this is career and recognition. This is a great house if you are ambitious, you know, because you're like, oh, this is a good year for me to get out my career. This is also gonna be about authority and superiors, as well as father figures. So you might find that you really connect to somebody like as somebody's training you in this energy. Somebody is your authority, telling you what to do and trying to make you better and advancing you in some way. This could be a time when you get a promotion or you quit your job and make a new job, just depending on what's going on. It could be, you know, your personal advancement, but also your public status. Now, your 11th house is networking, dreams. So making dreams into a reality. It's about taking all that happened in your 10th house perfection and putting that into, you know, like expanding that, networking, using your system of friends and groups that you have, joining a community, entering that. I could say that during my 11th house perfection, because I was just in it, I was really trying to have a community and find my place in the astrological world. And that blew up in my face, because Saturn was also transiting it. So, you know, like that can happen when you got to think about the energy of the planets transiting it. So it was a lot of harsh lessons for me to learn. By the way, like when I came back to YouTube in 2019, after being gone for a couple years, I was in a 10th house perfection. I had to go back to my career. I had no choice. It threw me into it. It became very important, trying to figure out what I meant to do. But it wasn't until my 12th house perfection, which we're coming into, that I feel established and that I know what to do in a way, which is an interesting thing. But it's also, the 12th house is losses, hidden enemies, and confinement, like on his negative side. And like, that's the most negative. But it can also be a place where you have reached total freedom, like freedom of self, freedom of ego, freedom of needs, normal physical needs for the things that you've kind of put on a pedestal, because now you're in this place of unconditional love versus unconditional fear. So if you feel like you're in a good place in a 12th house perfection, it can be because, I mean, you are, you know what I'm saying? Like things are good. But I definitely could tell you right now, I feel very confined in this energy. Like there's a confinement. I feel alone, a little isolated, especially getting out of that 11th house perfection that blew up in my face. Funny story, just like to show you how legit and realistic this is. On my birthday, 4 days after my birthday, the community that I thought that I wanted to be a part of, like, rejected me completely, which then led me to my 12th house perfection, which at first was dealing with a lot of losses and a lot of sadness and realizing I had hidden enemies, 12th house energy. But the moment I confined myself and isolated myself away from all of that, the moment I realized I can do everything that I need to do. And so the 12th house is just about letting go, letting the losses be losses and keeping your head up and moving forward. Those are the 12 houses during your years. You can see a total, like, other things about them as well, but I wanted to simplify them. So if you want to, by any chance, like, you're like, oh, none of those really worked for the year that I'm in, Google what the house means, you know, like figure out, read a lot about the house, because something will hit you and be like, that's what I'm dealing with right now. That also will help you become a better astrologer as well. Now we're going to look at the time lords. You're going to want to know about like where it's transiting and where it is. But this is the most important planet in your chart during the year. So whatever that planet is doing, it's important. And again, we're going to go through the traditional rulerships, but I am going to give you the 3 non-traditional just in case you want them, if you want to check them out. I'm not going to take anything away from anybody. Okay, so if you're in a sun year, this is a year where you are realizing your own higher purpose in yourself and how to find value and to create value in yourself. So this could be making your life a lot better, a lot easier, a lot more fun, but it could also be hard and really learning about your own ego issues and the ego issues of others. But ultimately, you are looking for how to create value in yourself. How? And you're going to try to find the answer to that question, no matter where it is. And that's going to move through all 12 signs, because the sun will move throughout the year until it gets back to your birthday. So that means each zodiac sign movement is going to be important. And so you can look at which house it's in to kind of tell you, okay, you know, during each month of the year, the sun is moving in, and I am learning different things about how I experience these signs. And so you become more well-balanced during a sun year. I feel like you become a better version of yourself in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you could feel like, oh, I became the worst version of myself. And that might happen too. It depends. But I do think it's kind of an extreme, and it's a lot of learning about who you are. It moves fast, but not as fast as our next one, the moon, because the moon moves through every sign every 28 days. So every month, the moon is moving. And that means you are moving too. So it's a moodier year, because we as humans don't really like change that much. So when you're in wherever Cancer is in your chart, when you're in that moon year, that house is really pulling through a lot of different energies. And you know, it always is, but when there's a moon focus, it can be a very emotional year. But ultimately, you are learning how to find your own unique purpose through what you've created. And that means putting out many different things, many different ideas of who you could be, putting a lot of your energy into the world to see what is the best. What do you like? Because you're actually taking your insides and putting them on the outside. So it's more of an internal struggle to get things out, to feel your feelings and to be able to look at them and say, okay, this is good or this is bad. But you're looking for your own unique, what makes you different, what makes you special, because it is your physical self on this earth. Your emotional well-being is also at the front and center, and our emotional well-being needs to know that we're special, that something's cool about us. With the sun, it's about your higher purpose and how you can be the light in this world. With the moon, it's almost about this lower purpose. What can you make from your root? Okay, so now we have Mercury. When you're in a Mercury year, it's a mental year. It's a logical year. It's going to be both mostly detail oriented, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be avoiding the big picture. You're going to be thinking a lot about your future, a lot about your past, whatever your brain can go through. This can be a year of paralysis of analysis, depending on if your Mercury is afflicted. Mercury also moves pretty fast. And you're going to have to be dealing with the Mercury retrogrades a lot too, because obviously we go through about 3 Mercury retrogrades a year. So each one of those times, it's going to be a moment for you to look into that big picture. And that's how you're going to handle that year. When you're in a Mercury year, handle the big picture during the retrogrades. Sit back, don't focus on the tiny details, because it's just harder. And so like, obviously when it comes to signing documents, if you can just not sign the document until Mercury is direct, then don't do it, because you don't want to be reading the fine print. You want to be sitting back and enjoying yourself in a very big picture energy. But when Mercury is direct, you will be very detail oriented. You'll be looking at each specific thing, and you will be able to build certain things from your mind. It's a very good place for manifesting, because your mind is now in tune with the things you want, and it's the most important for you. You probably will feel like you're changing a lot. Mercury rules 5. It's 5. So 5 is all about change and rapid growth, and what you might have liked one time, you don't like it anymore. And that's because the mind splits. You know, it's a lot of splits that happen within your head. When you are in a Venus Time Lord, Venus is your Time Lord. This is beautifying. I mean, it just is. Venus is the icing on the cake. Venus can be love, but you think about this. When you fall in love, you are beautifying your life by having someone else tell you you're pretty. You know what I'm saying? That sounded just so shallow. Oh my God, sorry. I'm not that shallow. But you know, someone telling you the value that they see in you. It'll be a time when you might be beautifying your home, beautifying your life. Could be plastic surgery. It could be reversing plastic surgery. It could just be your decisions about plastic surgery. Whatever it is, it's about you and your own body and loving that, but also loving your space around you, loving the people in your life, and making sure things are much more beautiful and sometimes even a little extravagant that year. You might spend a lot of money or hoard a lot of money too, depending on what you think that you need in your life. Mars is going to be a lot about hitting walls and breaking past the barriers of gatekeepers and people standing in your way. Mars is always one that's to ram its head into things. I mean, that's Aries, but that's what Mars rules, and Mars and Aries, same thing. So Mars is running after what it wants. And so you are going to hit a lot of walls. There is going to be a lot of tough breaks. And if Mars goes retrograde that year, there's going to be some even tougher breaks. But when Mars is direct, there's going to be this energy that you just really, really want to break through. This can even make you angry, have a lot of anxiety. But if your Mars is like a nice Mars, it's not super afflicted, maybe you have Mars in Capricorn, this could be a really good time for you to build, you know, your empire or something, because you have a lot of energy pushing yourself forward. You hit a wall, you're like, okay, well, let's figure out what to do with this wall. Do we tear it down? Do we go around it? Do we find the door? What's going on with this wall? You know, and then you move on from there. So now Jupiter. Now Jupiter it's a benevolent planet, and this would be about realistically enjoying your life at the feet of spiritual authority. That sounds so abstract. Ah, God, I'm such a Pisces rising. Learning from higher powers, Pisces rising. Putting your trust and faith in something. Jupiter rules the lottery. I always say, like, it's the energy or the planet of, I put down 5 numbers. I have no idea how many numbers are in the lotto. I put down like 20 numbers, 8, 7, whatever. I don't ever play the lottery. You put that down and then you win $1 million. Very little minimum effort for very high reward, but only when you are being consciously aware of the powers that have given that to you. It's not just dumb luck. Jupiter is something, it's higher consciousness pouring itself down onto you. And so it's about standing at the feet of divine and understanding that if you are aware and awoken, you will receive more than if you're working really, really hard for something. You're not going to receive what you want, because it's not a year for work. It's a year for receiving energy and to enjoy yourself. One time I was told that Sagittarius is just want to have fun. And I was like, really? They seem to like want to know everything. But in this energy, it's like, I think Sagittarius energy has fun knowing everything, right? And that's what Jupiter does for you there. So wherever your Jupiter is, that's what's going to be happening. Saturn's like the opposite of Jupiter. Saturn wants you to work hard. So it's going to be a hard-working year. Saturn also naturally rules the 10th of your career. So it could be a very career-oriented year, even if your Capricorn isn't in the 10th house, right? So your Saturn rules Capricorn. It's doing its thing, but it's definitely trying to gain something in your public image, your career, advancing you in some way. Now, this is about experiencing judgment against you, having those losses in order to gain. So you might feel like you're going 2 steps back, but you're going to bounce 5 steps forward if you are strong and capable that year. So it is a year that's going to put your might and your will to the test to see how far you can go. So that is the main planets. I don't mind if you just use those. Obviously, most people want you to use them. If you want to explore these other 3 planets, this is what this means. How about Uranus? Uranus is this deep emotional pursuit for freedom. So if you're on this wavelength, you want no barriers in your mind, you want no barriers in your body, no barriers at all. You just want something to be free and clear. If not, it can be a year of a lot of anxiety, a lot of energy running through you. It can also be a year of spiritual poverty, because Uranus is so mental and about knowledge that sometimes it can forget about having faith. This is the planet that you would use next to Saturn if you have an Aquarius house. So you think about that adding to that Saturn Aquarius, or that Saturn energy of working really hard for something. And so you add that additional, like, wanting the freedom, wanting to just advance. It becomes a lot, very extra for you, a lot of pushing forward. Now, Uranus is also rebellion, so it might make you do something just because you are deflecting or rebelling or demagnetized, polarizing from the norm of somebody else, which can happen as well. You see somebody doing something and it's that negativity that pushes you forward. So that could be something in the Uranus year that you want to look at. Obviously, Uranus moves really slow. It's not going to be moving any houses during that year, most likely. So you're going to be experiencing the energy of the transit if it gets into contact within a few degrees of one of your natal chart planets. Now we have Neptune. Neptune is a deep emotional pursuit for safety and belonging. And it's about wanting to find your place in this world, find your purpose. You can feel like you have nothing where Neptune is. And so it's this seeking something. And if you're going through a Neptune perfected year, there can be a lot of enchantments and deception of you, like that you face while you're trying to get into the energy that you want, while you're trying to find who you are, what you're looking for. And you might be met with some mirrors of your own energy during this time. You might feel like you want to drink a lot because Neptune rules that, or you get into a very big spiritual awakening. But the most part with Neptune, when it's just at its baseline, you're going to be experiencing some losses, some dissolving, which can be some, you choose a relationship, it turns out this person's a narcissistic gaslighter, or you have friends and they turn out that they don't want to be near you, so they're gone. Like whatever that is, Neptune is looking for the safety, but oftentimes is going to find out that it lacks, and it can be a kind of a sad, hard year. So if you put that with Pisces, with Jupiter, which Jupiter is about sitting at the feet of the divine and experiencing great things, the Neptune added to that can be a lot of disillusionment, because you can't experience these great things on the physical level unless you put them into action somehow, because they're not just coming to you. And so it is about really listening to divine information to figure out how to not make the wrong choices, not to build too much energy in one way, but to build it based on one step at a time, listening to your heart the whole way there. If you are in a Pluto year, Pluto puts obstacles in front of freedom. It's about blockages. It's about learning to control yourself, learning to, like, you know, be a diamond in a rough. Pluto's very diamond in the rough energy. This is why it can become the planet of like power and control, where you just want to control someone. Obviously, it's in the place of Mars for Scorpio, and Mars can be aggressive. Pluto is more like manipulative and controlling. So when you get into the Scorpio house, you could experience a lot of blockages in that same fashion of Mars, right? But these are more like going to be in your way of freedom, where Mars can be in your way of advancement. Because Pluto doesn't necessarily want to advance. Pluto is hell, it's Hades. It wants to transform and become something new without moving forward. Mars wants to go, go, go. So this is about holding yourself back in some ways in order to experience the best psychological transformation that you can, as opposed to just the Mars with Scorpio, which would be about advancing physically and actively. You can decide what to do with that. Anyway, that is your Time Lord. I hope that I explained it well enough for you to explore more. It's a really exciting thing, and it is very accurate. So anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow with another daily video. Thank you, and I will talk to you later. Goodbye.